What if the life you've been working so hard to build is the very thing keeping you from actually living? Today's conversation is for every woman who keeps postponing joy. I'm Selina, known as the Disruptor Teacher. Welcome if you're just finding us here today. I teach the woman I call Ms. I Got Time for everybody except myself to get her shit together. If that's you, you're in the right place. My guest today is Mikaela Ramsden. Mikaela, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you said yes, darling. How do you show up in the world?
I show up as myself, which I think is the most important thing, whatever that may be. So some days it's a lot of energy, and some days it's a bit more reserved, depending on what's going on. I keep it real. I'm not pretending to be anybody other than who I am. That's how I show up in the world.
All right, well then, if you're not pretending to be anybody, but who are you? Who are you, darling? Who?
Oh, I am a daughter. I am a sister. I'm a wife. I'm an auntie, tia, titi, friend. Those are the most important things to me in my life. And as far as work, I am now a sabbatical coach. And I was previously in HR for 20 plus years as an HR leader. And I burned all the way out. And I
Mm,
said, I'm done. And I walked away from it. And now my passion is teaching other people how to walk away from it and not burn their life down.
that's a bar. Not burn your life down.
Hmm.
Wow. So what was going on that you walked away from it? Like that feels like a lot of courage. I got tingles when you said that. It also feels badass.
What was it really just came to a head because of I had been working so intensely for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And, HR gets a really bad rap. It's always the villain in somebody's story. But what folks don't realize is the amount of things that go on behind the scenes and how much. And now, not to say that there aren't some really terrible HR people out there, because there are, and I have worked with some of them. But most of the folks that I know, and certainly the thing that I live by is you're trying to do the best for everybody involved all the time. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of time, what that looks like behind closed doors is you are the only person speaking up on a topic, pushing back on something that doesn't feel right, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And it's exhausting. It's exhausting to be in rooms full of people who don't look like you, in rooms full of people who are trying to just do the bare minimum or do the easy thing when it's not always the right thing. And
Mhm.
over many, many years of doing that, I just was exhausted. And I got to the point where I was really tired. I said, all right, let me change, let me go to another company. What was sold to me was that it would be a much less stressful situation than I was in before, and it turned out to be just as bad, if not worse, because as I get there and I start peeling back the onion and seeing all the things that had just been not done right or well, it really it blossomed into chaos. And I said, all right, I either find another job or I find a way to just take some time off. And because and the thing that I realized too, because I did interview and whatnot, and then you realize that, you know what, it's the same mess somewhere else. And I just don't want to trade one mess for another one. And there was a meeting that I remember so clearly where someone was so blatantly disrespectful and unprofessional and horrendous toward
Mhm.
me. And nobody in the room said anything. And I could feel the rage bubbling up from my toes, bubbling, 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 bubbling. And I said to myself, I have to get out of this room before it hits my throat because I am going to pop off in a way that they have never seen. And it's one of those companies where everybody has their laptop. I shut my laptop mid-sentence and I just left the conference room.
I
And
know that's
everybody
right.
was like, so I went down to my office. My boss came running after me because she was in the meeting. And she's like, are you leaving? And it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is very early for me. I'm somebody who worked really late all the time. That was another reason I was exhausted. And she's like, "Are you leaving?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Do you want to talk?" I said, "No." And she's like, "Can we talk tomorrow?" I'm like, "Mm-hmm." And I just packed my ish up and left the building. My team was worried. They were in the car. They were calling me because they thought that like I quit and I walked out. And I said, I will talk to you all tomorrow. I trust that you see my calendar, you see what I have going on, just deal with it. I'm going home. And I
Hmm.
went home. And on that drive home, I was thinking to myself, I would really like to just quit, but I couldn't because I had a house full of people. We had this was 2018, and in 2017, after Hurricane Maria,
Hmm.
my brother and my mom lived in St. Croix. We're from Trinidad, but they lived in St. Croix, and the devastation after the hurricane was such that we had to evacuate my mom and some of my nieces and nephews to live with us
Yeah.
for a while because like their school was destroyed and all of these things. So I had a house full of people I had to take care of, and
Yeah.
I said I cannot quit this job because I have to take care of these people, these kids, my mom. And that was the moment where I was like, it's a plan that was sort of already in motion, just in theory in my head, but that's when I put it into motion and I picked a quit date.
Okay.
And I said,
Hey,
I am going, I'm going to leave. I just need a break. I've been hustling since I moved to this country. I was exhausted. I just didn't even have time to think about what I wanted to do. I just knew I needed to do something different. And so that's what I did. I made a plan and I stuck to it.
I love that. And so how long did it take you to for your plan that you stuck to come to full fruition?
It took 2 years. I had given myself just almost 3 years, but I actually moved my quit date up 9 months because
Oh,
I just, a series of things started to happen over and over again. And one of the things, so I resigned at the end of 2019, with my last day being in January because I'm no dummy. I needed to stay to the end of the year to get my profit sharing. And I did walk away from a full year bonus.
yeah.
And I was okay with that because that's how fed up I was. I was like, let me get the profit sharing. I don't care. And people thought I was nuts. And I was like, I literally don't care. I just need out.
Because
And
you're
what
putting
happened?
time and peace for money.
Exactly, exactly. But a really good friend of mine, the summer of 2019, was diagnosed with a terminal illness.
Oh my.
And it was really devastating to see his first round of chemo landed him in the hospital. He had, there was some kind of like less than a percentage chance of a reaction to it. And he fell into that category. They had not tested for that because it was such a low chance. And he looked like he was burned, like he was in a fire. He had burns all over his body. And he was sedated. It was terrible from the chemo, from his first round of chemo. So his wife, in talking to her, she said, I think you guys need to come now because they weren't sure that he was going to make it. And that was devastating. It was one of those things where you keep yourself buoyant and light for the family so that everybody isn't there, because he was a light, fun, happy person. And so you don't want to bring heaviness into the room. But there's something that happens when you try to keep it light and then you finally have a moment to yourself and you just crash and you break down. And that's what happened to me. And I was like, how is this my friend who's just a couple of years older than I am? And he's probably not going to make it. And he is a kid and he has a whole life in front of him. And here I am on this mission to get out. And it just made me accelerate my timeline. And I was like, I can't stay. I can't do another year. I'm gonna pull the trigger and I will figure it out. I will figure it out, but I needed to get out. And that's what I did.
Love
Yeah.
for you. Wow. Wow. What do you say to another woman out there that's feeling this exact same way right now? What do you have for her?
So what I would say first and foremost is you are not alone in this feeling. If it is one thing that I have learned is a lot of folks are feeling it, are walking around with this quiet grief or feeling of desperation, feeling of the path that they are on just doesn't feel right. Like when I thought about, could I live like this for another 20, 25 years until I retired? And the answer was a resounding no. It was a very loud no. It was like a hell no.
Right.
So that's why I had to make this change. And so for the woman going through it, and again, I people say misery loves company. My misery doesn't always love company, but it can be reassuring to know that you're not crazy and it's not just you. And with some intentional focus and planning, there can be an alternative. And it's very individual. Different people want different things, right? Some
Mhm.
people want just a bit of time off to themselves. Some people want to go spend it with their family that maybe lives in another country, or maybe they're working a very serious job in finance, but they really have an artistic side that they haven't explored since they were young, and they would like to go and do an artist residency in the south of France. Like everybody has a different dream. And I think that we should dare to dream and then also take the practical steps to put things in place to get us there. And it may not be like from one day to the next or from one month to the next, because life is life and life be life in. And in this country, it's not exactly cheap to live, but with some intention and with some planning, it's possible to put a like I did. I put my quit date on a sticky note and I put it up above my desk at home. And that's the thing that I work towards to be able to just get my financial life in order, to be able to give me the breathing room to do what I needed to do.
I love that. I love that. It feels like this was disruptive in a way because what's in my mind is, I'm known as the disruptor. So
Mhm.
what actually did you have to disrupt in your life?
My spending patterns. So, a lot of times when you are stressed and, if you're making a good living and you have disposable income, it's very easy to spend money on stuff that you want, but it's not necessarily stuff that you need. And sometimes the shopping, not that I would say that I had any kind of shopping addiction,
Mhm.
but you can definitely make yourself feel better by buying something nice, whether it's for the home, whether it's for it's clothing, whether it's, whatever the case may be. And it can feel like, I'm buying this thing to make my life easier because it's already so hard. And this country, as everybody knows, it's very focused on consumerism, right? It's at every turn you're being sold something, you're being told that this is the thing that you need to do to make your life better, to make you more special, to make you more important, etc. And it's deep in our psyche. And aside from the things that, are necessary to live, your housing and utilities and your car and insurance and all of that, um, we don't realize sometimes how much money we spend on stuff that we want but we don't need. And so the disruption is in how I spent my money, frankly, because what was more important is that I could redirect that money to my escape fund. I literally named the savings account my escape fund. And anytime I was at work and somebody was pissing me off, and I was like, I just like I just want to quit now. I would pull up the app on my phone and I would look at the balance and I would say, okay, not yet, not yet, not yet,
Yes.
not yet. But I'm getting there, but not yet. To remind myself that I have an escape plan. And that's what needed to be disrupted.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that for you. And that, it speaks to so many things, right? Getting real with yourself,
Hmm.
acknowledging to take you where you wanted to go. Some things absolutely had to be disrupted. I love
Hmm. Hmm.
that. I'm curious, the thought that's in my mind around this, because you do talk about, and us living in the US. I'm curious why you're still living in the US. And did you think about like going back home to Trinidad or like kind of, and this feels like it was also happening while you still had your family that you had taken in from St. Croix?
Yeah, so it started and then eventually the kids went back home to their parents. But that first year, I think there were other folks around. I did not think about going back to Trinidad. So at that point, it's really popular to think about leaving the US now. But back then, 2018, 2019, that really wasn't in my something that was in my psyche yet. I mean, I don't live. I'm somebody. This is the second country that I have lived in, and I've always fancied the idea of an extended stay somewhere else, right?
Mm.
So, or maybe like to retire somewhere else, but not necessarily right now. And my wife, has a good job here in the US, and it's the thing that, it's not at a place where we're ready to disrupt that for her because it is going well. But do I think that eventually we would consider it? Absolutely. The dream that I came to this country for looks really different now than what I thought it would be in terms of the society, right? The dream that I came for, I absolutely achieved. So when you think about the reason that people immigrate to the US for opportunities, for whether it's education and jobs and all those things, I have realized that dream. Like I came here determined not to squander the opportunity, and I didn't. And to do that, you have to work really hard.
Yeah, ring the bell for you, girl. You accomplished one dream, but did you realize there's more than one, huh?
Right, because you think that the career and the home and all of these things, that's it. And then you start to realize that ain't it. That's a part of it. Do you need to have housing security? Yes. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do you need to be able to know where your food is coming from and all of these things? And a lot of people, even more so now, have so much insecurity around that, um, just because of the direction that this country has been going steadily in. And so it's trying to balance all of that and decide for yourself, like, do you just want to keep hustling for the things, or is there something else to life? And then how can I have it all? How can I have all of those things? And I think it's okay to ask ourselves that question and to challenge ourselves to have it all, whatever all means. And all doesn't mean perfect all the time. It's not unicorns and rainbows by any stretch of the imagination. But it's more than just being defined by our job titles and
Right.
having a bunch of money in the bank. If you're miserable, if you like it just isn't worth it to me. And I
Mm.
also had heard and seen too many stories of people who they work really hard, they do all the things that they're supposed to do, and then they retire and then they're dead like within a year.
Yeah, or the next
And
day.
that is scary to me. And I actually heard a few months before I made the decision that I was going to do this, I heard a story about someone directly from someone who knew this man, who was, had a stressful job, did all the things, had a good financial plan, all of this stuff. He retired on a Friday and he had a heart attack and died on Sunday. And
Mm.
I said to myself, that is not going to be me. No how, no way. It cannot be me. It's not worth it. So if there are adjustments that have to be made to allow me to have a more balanced life, then that is what I will do.
Ashe,
Yeah.
ashe. I love that for you. So many thoughts run through my mind. I too, I had a doctor that I just loved, and he decided to retire to spend time with his wife, and then I heard he died like within months.
It's heartbreaking. It's
Mm.
heartbreaking.
Is that, and I became a widow at 23, and I'd only been married for 7 months.
Oh my
Life
God.
can change in an instant. So
Yes.
definitely don't wait
Don't
for
wait.
because someday is not on the calendar.
Exactly.
It does not
Exactly.
exist.
Yeah. And it also doesn't mean to be extreme, right? Because some people take that and then they're just reckless about things and life, and that's not in my nature. Like I am still somebody who needs to plan and needs to have, I come from very, very humble beginnings, and so financial instability is a surefire recipe for me being anxious.
Right.
And even in this time, right, as I approach entrepreneurship, because I really thought I was going to go back to a job. I was going to take my sabbatical and I was going to travel and do all these things, and then I would find another job. And when I tell you nothing went to plan, because I quit in January 2020, and then a pandemic came. And so that completely disrupted all my sabbatical plans, and things went in a different direction. And I was a little salty for a while. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little salty. Again, in perspective, right? There's a much bigger thing happening. So it's not about me. So I very much kept that to myself. Like, Mikaela, this is ridiculous, but also it's not ridiculous because I had a dream that I had been working on for a long time, and now I cannot live that dream.
I just threw it up in there. Like, whoop,
Exactly. So another lesson in, you know, we make plans and then the world decides something else
yes.
happens. But it did the time and the space and so I quit that job and then I wanted the first few months to do nothing. I didn't want to go anywhere. I wanted to wake up to no alarm clock. I wanted to like be able to meet my friends for dinner during the week, which I was never able to do before because my commute was horrendous and I would always be dealing with some kind of, crisis at the end of the day. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be a lady who lunches. Now, I don't know who I was going to lunch with because everybody's got a job.
Right?
But if somebody happened to be off
With the
or whatever,
seniors, the mature folks.
I was saying yes to every coffee invitation, every dinner invitation, every whatever. And it was so nice to say yet to be able to say yes. And most importantly, to wake up with no alarm clock.
I love
And by the time I was like, okay, I'm good, I'm getting ready I was gonna go take some time and spend some extended time in Trinidad with my family. Then we started to hear about all of the things about coronavirus and my mom was calling and saying, please, 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 please just wait. Don't buy any plane tickets yet, please. I'm hearing all this stuff on the news. And I listened to her and then I'm glad that I did because if I'd gone to Trinidad, I would have been stuck for many months. They didn't reopen flights until like August of 2020. And that would have been I wouldn't have wanted to be stuck in Trinidad over COVID. My wife would have been here by herself. Like that wouldn't have been good at all.
Mhm.
So it happened the way that it was supposed to. I ended up doing some consulting for somebody who I had worked with previously who had his own company and needed some help. And then I got a referral for a job and I'm like, well, we're inside and we're not doing anything. I might as well work and make some money. And so I did that. But I got there and a few weeks in, I was like, oh, nope, this isn't it. And the thing that even though taking a sabbatical was courageous, I think that it built my courage even more to leave situations sooner that don't fit because that job, 2 weeks in, I was like, this ain't it. And I stayed a little bit longer because I had a team that I really liked and folks who were really happy that I came in and I was their manager, some of them. Um, and so I stayed a little bit longer than I maybe would have had that not been the case. But
Yeah.
I was gone after 7 months because I was like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this. Nope.
I
And I took part two of my sabbatical in 2021.
love that.
Yeah.
So, what is a sabbatical? What is that?
So I love this question. So I will say most people think of a sabbatical as something in academics or in clergy, because that's when we hear it, right? We hear clergy
Mhm.
take sabbaticals and professors once they're tenured, etc.
Right.
What it really is, it's a period of not working where you take a break to do something, whether it is rest and recovery, or in a lot of cases, people take the time to do something that's kind of been on their to-do list, their bucket list, their wish list that they cannot ordinarily do in their day-to-day lives. And sometimes it's something wild. For some folks, it's traveling, like they pack up their bags and they go and they travel for 6 months. For other people, it may be something as simple as spending time with their family because if you live in a different country or a different side of the US, you haven't seen your folks in a long time,
Right.
maybe more than 1 or 2 weeks at a time is all you get over the years, and you want to spend some time because our parents are getting older and all those kinds of things. It's literally taking a break from work completely to recover, to rest, to think, to be creative. It can just vary from person to person. Some folks they need it for their health because they've been really stressed out and they need to really focus on their health and wellness, and that's the choice that they make. Um, or just some big adventure, some big adventure that you've always wanted to do, which is, I think, so fun.
I love it.
Um, yeah. And that's what it is. It's a really intentional breakaway from the things that have been consuming your time and your energy.
I love that. I love that. So I think I was kind of forced into a sabbatical,
Okay.
but I don't know that I actually stopped working, health wise. But I had gotten a download. I was under a lot of stress and a lot happening on the job,
Hmm.
and unknowingly at the time I was being triggered over and over from some previous trauma.
Mm.
And spirit was like, take a leave of absence, take a leave of absence.
Hmm.
I was like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't think they're gonna believe me. I was working under a white woman,
Hmm.
and it got to the point where, like, when I would hear her voice and things, I couldn't breathe, and I was starting to realize that I didn't feel safe with her.
Mm.
And so I'm scrambling, trying to figure out, like, for me to take this leave of absence and them to not say no,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because anything else was not an option because I was dying. It's like I was dying on the vine.
Hmm.
And it gets so bad to where I'm just forced to go ask my doctor for time off. We had to negotiate that because I kept telling her, I was like, I think I need to talk to somebody about trauma. I was
Hmm.
already seeing a therapist, but it was a spiritual counselor,
Hmm.
and it was not like connecting the dots and everything. And so
Hmm.
finally
Hmm.
negotiate 3 weeks, and she's like, what's going to be different in 3 weeks? I was like, I'm going to go find somebody that specializes in trauma. And so, like, everything is in alignment. I found
Hmm.
the perfect person. She's been walking me through. I took short-term disability. It turned into long-term. Now that's a thing in itself that I wrestle
Hmm.
with, but I feel like that needed to happen because I couldn't do it for myself, even
Yeah.
though it was what I needed. What are ways, like, how do you help someone that has that they want to do it? Maybe they're not thinking of it as a sabbatical per se.
Yeah.
What do they do? How do they reach out to you? Like, what happens? Give me all the tea.
Yeah. So it's very individual, right? Because everybody has different things that are available to them depending on the company that they work for. So some companies, not many, unfortunately, have sabbatical policies, right? Where you can get a sabbatical. It's often after, I don't know, 5 years of service or something like that. And a lot of folks jump around a lot more these days. But again, I would say not most companies. And you kind of have to, first thing you have to do is assess what benefits are available and what you may be able to ask for. And there's a lot that people coming from HR, what I know is that there's a lot that people don't know that they should know. And it's not that anybody's trying to keep it a secret, they just don't know. It's so many things that are available, right? So when you talk about a leave of absence, there's a medical leave of absence, there's a personal leave of absence, there's different degrees of pay. Some are paid, some are unpaid, some have job protection, some don't. And it really is examining on an individual basis what's available to any one person, and that helps to make the decision. So if, for example, somebody, you know, they've been dealing with something health-wise and they need to take time off so that they can get the right care, and it's something that qualifies for short-term disability, I wouldn't call that a sabbatical because when you are focused on your health and your healing, that truly is a break for that reason, right? If you've had a, I don't know, shoulder that has been bothering you and you keep ignoring it and you need to have surgery to heal. I mean, you're going to be focused on healing and physical therapy throughout your time off. So that's a little bit different. Um, there's
You
FMLA.
about
I'm
that,
sorry.
not to cut your wisdom, um, because that's how I've been feeling this whole time. Like, I need to focus on my health and everything, but it also at the same time feels like, I don't know, I've kind of have this fear that, okay, it's going to come to an end, like they're going to take it away from me. So I still need to be kind of
Mhm.
planning for the next thing. So
And
how
that
that
is
comes up.
also something that I find it is important in the conversation because you just never know what's going to happen, especially in the environment that we are in now, where so many jobs are being eliminated. I don't want
Right.
anybody to be in a position where, let's just say they request a leave of absence, and a personal leave of absence, which may not have a job guarantee at the end.
Right.
And then their company decides, you know what, we're not going to be able to hold this position any longer, so there's no
That
job for
would
you to
be,
go back to. And that's part of the planning because it's like you have to plan for the ideal situation and then you have to plan for if it goes left. And so making sure that, okay, if there's no job for you to go back to, what does that look like in terms of do you have the income to help you sustain until you can find another role? It's a bit of strategy on how to work your contacts before you go out and sort of put things in the iron just in case you need to reach out for another role and all of the possibilities. And that's where I'm a dreamer, but I'm also very, very practical. And I don't want anybody to be in a position where the rug is pulled out from under them and they just really are losing their feet entirely. So
mhm,
so that's why when I say it takes some planning and it takes some very detailed thinking about all the ways that it may go, that's where I come in and that's the stuff that I love to do and to help people think through. So it's not yet, it may not be from this month to next month. You may need to put a date on the calendar that's a year away to give yourself some runway to plan for this properly, but it gives some security to know that you have a plan if
yeah,
things don't go according to the way that you would like them to go. And that is part of the planning process. So it's all of the eventualities. And at the end of the day, we know that people need to be able to pay their mortgage or their rent, and eat some food and have their utilities on. And I don't want anybody to be in a position where they jeopardize that unless their plan B can look like, well, I can move in with my parents if I really need to, or some folks don't have that option. I didn't have that option.
mhm.
So my plan had to be, how can we sustain ourselves if things go left?
I love that. What is one of the biggest wins that one of your clients had, like, those tangible and intangible things that came out of them making this choice to work with you and then um, you know.
Yeah. One comes to mind where exactly what we just talked about, she took a leave of absence, and after about 6 months, they asked her to come back. It was a 12-month leave of absence, and she was not ready. She still had things planned. She wanted to take time off to spend with her young child and do some traveling, and she'd had a really hectic several years leading up to this decision.
Mhm.
And what I'm proud of is that she had a plan and things in place to be able to say, um, what she said to them is not that she's not able to come back right now, but if they can give her an additional 2 months, she'd be able to come back in 2 months. And they said, no, either you come back now or there's no job. And she said, okay, thank you. Then you guys can go ahead and terminate me.
That's right.
And she's the kind of person who really favors stability in work. Like she's not somebody who's hopping around and changing jobs and doing all of that. She would be with a company for 10 plus years at a time.
Mhm.
And so that was big for her to say, go ahead and do this and not have another job lined up.
Yeah.
So that was bravery on her part. And then the other thing is she did eventually, when it was time for her to start looking for a job, because she did start to panic a little bit,
Mhm.
about 5 months after that. So she landed a role, wasn't ideal, but she took the job. And what it was not great. It was not great. That's what I will say. And the thing that I am really proud that she did is she very quickly said, okay, this isn't working. I'm gonna have to find something else. And she did. And I think she may have been at that job for about 4 to 6 months.
Uh-huh.
And she found another role and she went to it. And she did not realize how out of character it was for her to leave her job after 6 months because it wasn't working. Because she's the kind of person who would just kind of stick things out and just deal. And the bravery that she developed by A, taking the leave, B, turning down going back to the job on their timeline, not on hers, and then making the decision to leave a job that was not a good fit for one that's a much better fit for her was so much bravery that she built up in a short space of time, which I think continues to serve her in her life going forward. So that just felt like something that is not necessarily tangible, but in terms of the experience and something that it built in her. And I feel pretty proud of that because I got to witness it, and I was like, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, and we know there's two sides to all things. So is there anything that kind of went went left that, just couldn't have been planned for or anything like that in any of the situations that you could
I think the things that go left, it's a lot around the voices of other folks, right? So when you make a plan for yourself and it's solid, it can work out. But the thing that I think a lot of folks don't anticipate is when you have a lot of downtime to think, the gremlins sometimes creep up, right? In your mind of what am I doing? What should I do? Is this right? Or it may be little whether it's a snide comment or it is an unintentionally negative comment by a friend or family member. So like, what are you doing? Or what's your plan? Or how are you gonna live? Or just little things like that that can be a bit
Mhm.
triggering
Yep.
and set people off thinking like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Did I make a bad decision? Can I ever recover from this? And it's the I what I have learned is that sometimes, depending on the situation, having a therapist lined up is one of the most important things for a sabbatical
Absolutely.
because the quiet time to think when you're not speeding and you're getting up in the morning, you're hustling to go to work, you're hustling to get out of the house, you're hustling all day, you hustle to come back home, hustle, 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 hustle. When you have time to think, all the stuff that's just sort of in the back of your mind, just sort of lingering quietly, those voices get louder and louder and louder, and then you have to face it. And it can be good to have someone to talk that through with, particularly if there are things that maybe have been suppressed and not acknowledged.
Uh,
So I think that's the other side of it. I think more than anything, the emotional, there's a lot of benefit to it, and then there can also be a bit of an emotional, unexpected emotional toll to having so much time to think about
yeah.
your life. Yeah, especially when you get to a certain age and you start to think about, okay, so now I've paused and I kind of like this. How am I going to go back to what I was doing? And how am I going to do that until I retire? And so the existential crisis that
Absolutely.
we sometimes face can happen.
Yeah, that fear, like, I could I could I can relate to this so much because I'm actually like living it like full bloom in the present as we're talking about it. And maintaining a therapy. I like to call it creating your inner love tribe. There's your inner love tribe and your outer love tribe,
I
right?
like
Your inner
that.
love tribe is what you need to show up every day and be yourself and
Mm-hmm,
be you.
mm-hmm.
And so I believe that a therapist is part of that. And anytime, you go through something drastic and you're sitting with it and you don't have a place to kind of put it, um, I think it builds up, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's just not a straight line.
It's not.
It's like there's so many things that could come out of nowhere. And in my instance, like all of the triggering.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I don't want to call that in, like when is this over? But it's like, oh Lee,
Yeah.
didn't know that, the thing, right? And so what are you so many thoughts. This is so yummy. I'm so grateful that you're here, and I believe it's going to serve so many women. So who is that woman? Who is she? Who needs your help?
The person that needs my help is the person who, on the outside, it looks and feels like everything is going well and it's legit and you're together, right? You got it together. But on the inside, you are tired, like soul tired, frustrated, questioning if you can keep doing it, questioning what's next. And what you want more than anything else is a break because you've been going from one thing to one thing to one thing to one thing to one thing and not having the time to sit and examine what you really want or just to rest because we have to be so many things to so many people, right? Especially as women. And also, you may have the voice that goes back to the family, the culture, whatever the case may be, that says like, What you mean you're gonna quit your job? You must have a good job, right? You have a good job. What you leaving that for? And feeling like there's something that you want to do, but your cultural conditioning will not allow you to do it. And what I implore people to do is to listen to that voice that is in your heart because, Oprah would always say it goes from a whisper to a shout, and it's been whispering to you for a long time. And explore it. And exploring it doesn't mean that you're going to do anything irresponsible. I keep saying it's not like I'm saying we have a conversation today and you quit your job tomorrow or next month because you may not be able to. But what you are able to do, just like so many people plan for big things in their life, right? They plan, they get through college, um, with commitment and everything it needs. You plan, you buy a house, you plan for your down payment. You can plan to give yourself a break and you can create your own. I always say you create your own privilege, right? For people who don't come from privileged backgrounds where they have a trust fund or they have parents who can help fund it, how can we create our own privilege and give ourselves the space that we need and want so desperately to figure out how we're going to live the rest of our life. Because I don't know, I just feel no, nothing felt worse to me than living when I pictured my future and I pictured myself at retirement age, looking back, I just didn't feel like I wanted to see a life that looked like the life that I was living back then. And I didn't know. I didn't have time to think about what I was going to do and what was next. And that's why I had to just stop all the way and give myself space to do that. And that's me. Some people can stop a little bit. They could slow down instead of stopping. Like it looks different for everybody.
Right.
And I think that that's okay. Like the way I did it is not necessarily the way somebody else needs to do it, and that's okay. But do the thing that will give you the outcome that you need.
Ashe, ashe. I love this so much. So many beautiful thoughts running through my mind. This is bars, and this is your tagline. You help women create their own privilege.
Yes.
Booyah. Like
Yes.
Mr. Tenderism. Booyah.
Yes. Yes.
I love that as 111 is on the clock.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I got chills again. So, how does she find you? Where are you, darling?
I am on LinkedIn, so I am my name everywhere. Nothing, no fancy handles. It's Mikaela Ramsden on LinkedIn. It's Mikaela Ramsden on Instagram. That's where you find me. And my website is mikaelaramsden.com. So I've made it easy. You can find me at Mikaela Ramsden everywhere.
And what
And
Mhm.
I was going to say, you can send me a DM. That's the easiest way. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm managing all of my DMs. It's me. It's nobody else. It's not a bot. It's not an assistant. It's me. As of right now, it's me. And so I'd be happy to start a conversation in the DMs, and then we can see how it goes from there. If it's something that feels aligned.
I love that. I love that. So many questions. Okay, hopefully I can maintain it to just one more. So, what have you been doing for joy?
Oh, for joy. So I became obsessed with vintage home decor.
Mm, go.
Uh, and I'd always been intrigued by it. I'd go to like the flea markets and then I would get really overwhelmed and I wouldn't know what to do and I wouldn't know if something was valuable until on my sabbatical, I went on a retreat in the south of France with this lovely woman. She is an Jamaican American Nigerian, and I'm not saying it in the right order, but she lives in Paris and she's wonderful. Her name is Ajuri Aki, and you can find her on Instagram, and her page is so inspirational. And she's a vintage dealer. And a part of the trip is that she took us on to all these different little French villages into the vintage markets. And she was like teaching us what to look for and how to do a little negotiation and what things are great. And that just kind of gave me the confidence to do it myself. And then I came back and I was like on YouTube and learning all about vintage and going to the stores. And I just said, I would give myself like a budget. I'm like, okay, $20. Let me
Right.
see what I can get for $20. And over the years, I've become pretty good, I would say, at identifying things that's like in the back of a shelf and looking a little dusty. And I'm like, no, that's something real good. And I get so thr the thrill, it's like a treasure hunt. Every time you go, I feel like a pirate
I love it.
finding a treasure. And it really does bring me joy. And I can look around me and see all these things, these vintage things that I have found, like this is how I
Yes.
keep my tissues. It's a crystal rose bowl, but I hate tissue boxes. I find them to be very ugly. So I put my tissues in this instead, all through the house.
I gotta go get me something cutesy to put my tissues
No,
in.
it just brings me joy because all around I get things, and every time my eyes land on them, it makes me happy. It makes my eyes happy. It makes me happy. So that's one of my joyful things that I do. And beside that, for me, it's really about friends and family, like just easy time to bring friends and family together, or any opportunity that I get, even in the most casual kind of situation. That's my joy. My people are my joy,
I
and
love
doing things with them.
I love that. I'm so excited and just bursting with joy for you with all of this. So one more thought, for the woman out there that's going through this. What served you? Any recommendations, books, podcasts, like what really helped you in your journey and getting here, or something that you believe would be helpful for?
Yeah. Okay. So there's two sides to this. There's the practical side around the finances, right? Because that's the big thing. That's whether or not people say it, that's the thing that's top of mind. How can I afford to do this, right? I have responsibilities. And I will suggest that folks find anybody, there are different financial educators out there who people, may feel more connected to.
Hmm.
I really like Rachel Rogers, of course. Her book, We Should All Be Millionaires, was actually that book came out after I took my sabbatical. So that was not one of the ones I read leading up to it. But I've always followed Tiffany Aliche, the Budgetnista. She's really good about just being practical and talking through how to get control of your whole financial situation. I really appreciate and enjoy her work.
Hmm.
And I'm a podcast and book person, and I know that's not for everybody, but when you think about a book, you buy a book for $20, it's somebody's life work that they have distilled into those pages that you get the benefit of. So I really encourage folks to get books. Um, the podcast I was listening to before I quit, I would not recommend at this stage because I think that they've changed and evolved and maybe are not that helpful.
Hmm.
Um, the 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss was one that, he's a tech bro, I know. But it really and it's quite dated now in some respects because it was written back in like the mid 2000s. But
Hmm.
there are some really good things in there as you consider, what you want your life to be like and how you design it, even if your intention is not to become an entrepreneur.
And that one is
And
called Our Work.
the 4 Hour Work Week.
4 Hour Work Week. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
it's like a cult classic and for a reason because there are so you take what you need and you leave what you don't from that book. And then the other thing during my sabbatical, as I was having all of these, existential questions about my life and what I was going to do,
Right.
the book that I enjoyed that was practical and gave you exercises is The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Mm.
And it is also a book that's been written a long time ago, but still so relevant today. And what it does is it asks you questions. I think it's like over 12 weeks. You have some exercises to do every day, do some journaling,
Mhm.
and it gives you reflection prompts and writing prompts. And what I would do is I would go for my walks and I would listen to the chapter all the way through. And then I would come home and I had a hard copy, and then I would do the exercises of writing through it. And it just kind of helped to bring some clarity on my own time to the stuff that was whirling in my head. And so on the spiritual side, again, it's not even just purely spiritual, just on the personal, emotional side, I
Mhm.
found that book to be really, really enlightening and helpful. And that's what I'd recommend. And then follow me because, I'm going to be uh, saying a lot more on all the socials and all the places and just talking about the real life stuff. I'm not here to make it some kind of fantastical world. I think we have to be practical about what life really is and the conditions that we are currently living under in the US and not pretend like that doesn't exist, but at the same time we cannot lose hope and we have to prepare for a better day. And even if you do all the things you need to do and you never take a sabbatical, if you put some of these things in place, I mean, you will have created so many more options for yourself. So I don't think that there is a downside to doing some of the work at
Mm.
all. It can only benefit you.
Ashe, ashe, ashe. Is there anything else you'd like to share that I didn't maybe ask?
I think well, one thing, I tell folks that and this is sort of counterintuitive advice. Sometimes not all your dreams are meant to be shared with everybody. So if you know that you are in a family structure or friend structure where saying something like, I want to take a sabbatical or I want to find a way to quit, may be met with confusion, resistance, or any kind of negativity. And it may be coming from a well-meaning place, right? People may love you, but they are seeing something like this through the lens of their own life, and they may not have thought about a break as a possibility. So it's not meant to drag you down necessarily, but it may have a cooling effect on your dream. And I will say that sometimes real G's move in silence. And this is one of those situations where you tell only the people you absolutely need to tell. Like maybe you need to talk about it with your partner, or not, because maybe your partner is the one who is resisting. And if you can begin to put things in place and show them the way it can work, then they may be more open to it. And so be very careful about who you share this dream with because folks may unintentionally dissuade you from it. And that I think is the last thing that I will say. Not everything is meant to be broadcast until it's time to be broadcast.
That's really rich. Sometimes real dreams move in silence, girl. You've been dropping bars. I'm going to be borrowing some of these because they bear repeating. Oh my goodness, this has just been so yummy.
I'm glad.
Mikaela, I like to flip the mic because you know I'm known as the disruptor. So I'm
Yeah.
going to disrupt some things. I would love to know, do you have any questions for me?
I do. I do. So you talked about taking some time off when you needed to. And can you tell us a little bit about the effect that that had on you and how, if and how it made a difference in how you move forward from that moment by being brave enough to ask for the time?
Well, first was it like really figuring out what I didn't know that I
Hmm.
was concerned about because like I said, I felt like black woman versus white woman and I don't know what's going on, but I know I don't feel safe. So initially I had a off the record conversation with HR
Hmm.
and kind of got empowered enough to understand that okay, HR will help me because
Hmm.
when I was asking, that's what everybody kept saying, talk to HR, but I'm like, no, I don't want to give them all the tea before I feel comfortable enough in what I'm sharing and what's going on because I didn't know. And I
Hmm.
also went to my boss's boss because she kept reaching out.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that helped me get a little bit more comfortable. And then once I applied and I felt better about the process,
Hmm.
it's really out of my control.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I had to be okay with that because like you said, with the type of leave of absence that I took, there were choices. It was voluntary with no pay. It was medical leave on my part, or it could have been medical because someone that I'm caring for. And at
Hmm.
the time, I was caring for my mother. I'd moved in with her and everything, but I know she wasn't ready to say that that's what was happening.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the only one that I could still have an income from was if the medical was my medical leave.
Hmm.
So with my mother it would have been FMLA. And so once I had that information, it felt like everything else just happened. Like like I wasn't even in control of it. Like
Hmm.
once I got the information and then I went to my doctor, it actually happened like a week after. Like I didn't know that that was going to happen. I went to my doctor because she did something else, and I just felt like I was suffocating. And I slammed down the laptop, and I went straight to her office.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just kind of happened from there. And since that time, to be honest, there was so much anxiety, depression. I got diagnosed with PTSD, trauma stressors. And then I
Mm-hmm.
also have a physical disability that was presenting itself, but it hadn't really been diagnosed yet. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been a journey. I left there in October 2023. Where are we now? We are in May 2026. So
Mm-hmm.
they've given me a full disability. Um, and I've wrestled with it. I've done a couple of things. I love to travel, and so that's part of what I was fighting with because I had so many medical appointments too,
Mm-hmm.
and these desires to go be somewhere other than here because
Mm-hmm.
all of this was reminding me of everything else. And then
Mm-hmm.
who am I as someone that has what I come to know now, invisible disabilities?
Mm-hmm.
Right, it
Mm-hmm.
made me feel inconsistent, I couldn't show up, like, and I really had a desire to be an entrepreneur, and this dream that I had had for over 11 years. I had done it in my marriage, um, but I thought it was for me to help, that partnership, which wasn't a partnership, and realize in going inward in
Mm-hmm.
my prayer closet, sometimes it was a war room, sometimes it was a prayer closet,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that, oh, that vision was for me. And so I've been holding that for so long too. And so I'm finally to a space where I want to pursue that and see what that looks like as a woman that's disabled.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't
Wow.
know if I answered the question, but
Yeah,
that's what.
well, what it sounds like is that it gave you the space to tend to yourself and the things that were bubbling up that needed attention. And then it gave you room to dream that dream that had been in the back of your mind for a while, but to
Mhm.
give it room to breathe and come to the forefront, as
Absolutely.
opposed to just pushing through with the job and things the way that they were.
And it was a lot happening because I had moved in to help my mother financially too. So that was all that fear. The finances, you're absolutely right, is always there
Hmm.
because we
Yeah.
need the resource to be able to do the other things that we want to do. And so a lot happened, but it also helped me with my resolve
Hmm.
and know that, okay, these are the choices that I do want to make. The show, this is something that I held on to the entire time. I couldn't release it.
Hmm.
The fact that I've been coaching women for more than 40 years, showing up and didn't know that it was a profession. I
Hmm.
found my calling. And
Hmm.
then Midwest Way, the food brand side of things, that vision that I've been holding for 11 years was what I was supposed to birth.
Well, tell
So
us a little bit about that and where it's at right now.
Midwest Way.
Yes.
Midwest Way is it's peeking its head out from the sleep that it's been in, that I put it in for quite a while. We just so Midwest Way, we're a social enterprise, and we do what we call random acts of love, where we help meet immediate needs. That's the so it exists to help others meet their immediate needs, and we're a for profit. I
Hmm.
like to say with nonprofit tendencies because we need
Hmm.
that money so that we can
Hmm.
help other people.
Yes, indeed.
So we've created a community which we call the Circle of Love to kind of help support us in that. If those that are familiar, Tom Joyner morning show used to have this philanthropy where when someone was in need, he would call out to the community and they would help support in addition, to what they were doing. And that's similar to what we do. We invest the first $100 of the need, and whatever it is that is needed, we ask our community to support if that is something that resonates with them. And it doesn't always have to be financial. It could be somebody might, their car broke down and they needed it fixed, and there's somebody that's willing to fix it for free or whatever at a minimal cost, things like that. So it creates the circle of love, that village. So we're building that. I'm sharing that. We're looking to get products that we currently have. I make an organic barbecue sauce. It's
Hmm.
the healthy swap version of an 84-year recipe. And then we have merch, which I have on. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Ain't no way like
Nice.
the Midwest way is our tagline. And then I'm launching pop-up experiences around the country where we make our Midwest way Polish boy sandwich, which is a sandwich known to Cleveland.
Okay.
And yeah, and so this is the time. This is now. I'm just really starting to talk about it and share it. Last month I was in LA. We did a barbecue tasting, so we've got that coming to share with everyone that's supporting us. And we have a community called the Midwest Way House. So
That's
find
so lovely. And it's business with a purpose. Like it's not just business for the sake of business, but it's with the intention to do something for the community. And I think I really, really resonate with that. Again, given the environment that we're in, where people are just being purely extractive, and for us to continue to show up for others, but in a way that also supports us. Because, sometimes we, especially as Black women, have a tendency to give of ourselves to other people and neglect what we need. And so this is you making a turn to do both, because I think it can be a both and situation. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Like we deserve to be able to pay our bills and live our life, and at the same time help those who may be in a position where they're not able to do the same thing at any given point in time. And I love that.
Agreed. And that was the dynamic that was playing out too, figuring out, do I separate them or how can I combine them? Because they're both me. They're both equally parts of me. And for the woman that I serve, Ms. I got time for everybody except herself, she realizes that I still have these goals and dreams. I've been serving everybody else, but
Mhm.
now it's my turn. Like
Yeah,
when it's your turn, I'm your girl.
yeah, yeah. I love that. I
Yeah,
love
thank you
that.
for
That's
asking.
fantastic. I can't wait to taste this barbecue sauce. I don't do a lot of barbecuing, but I will put some barbecue sauce on some chicken in the oven. So that's the
Barbecue,
extent of my barbecue.
see, and barbecue made it famous, but it's really an everything sauce. We put that shit on everything. You can put it
Oh,
on your
okay.
meats, your seafood, your beans, your pasta. Some people use it as a marinade. One lady said salad dressing, and I had a man that was adamant about the fact that it was a Bloody Mary mix.
Well, I don't
So I
like Bloody
was like,
Marys, but I'll
oh,
believe him.
I was like, okay, then it's very light. And like I said, it's the healthy swap version. So it's all herbs and spices. Yeah, it's good stuff. So
I cannot wait. I cannot wait till it comes to market.
yeah,
Cannot wait.
thank you. Well, any final words before we go? Thank you so much.
I would just like to say, I just like to thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation with you and to share the message with the folks, and I do hope that it resonates because and I know that there are a lot of people who are feeling exactly this, and they just have to know that it's possible to do something different, particularly those of us who have been very conditioned. We have to, do things in a very particular way. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation.
I appreciate you giving me the time, honey. This is
Of
all
course.
you. You all, she shared her information. It's going to be in the details under this video. Share, like, and subscribe if you found value. And until next time.